Cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's not on my Instagram. My husband is the biggest vagina in the world. Here's a little backstory. He and I met 5 years ago, and as soon as we met, I was the one that was interested in him. Which drives me crazy now, the fact that I chased this man. Disgusting. All I did was ask him out on a date and he said yes. After that, he fell in love with me and I did too. Within the first couple of months of our relationship, I realized that he was extremely sensitive. This man would cry a lot, and his feelings would get hurt very easily. So I basically had to start walking on eggshells to make sure I wouldn't offend him. For example, I once did my own laundry and I didn't do his. Number one, he was really upset, and number two, he started crying because he said that I didn't love him enough. His mood swings were all over the place. And then the worst part, he got fired from his job and basically didn't bother looking for another one. He told me that he wanted to live off of his savings for the next couple of years. This man never wanted to pay for anything. If we went out to dinner with his friends, he would never offer to pay for my dinner. His friends would pay for my dinner. I was so beyond embarrassed. I was footing the bill for everything. He barely paid me rent. Part 2 is up. I've cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's not on Instagram. So aside from him not ever paying for anything and fully expecting me to pay for things, I began to hate him. You might ask me why I married him. He comes from a really rich family, so I thought he would eventually ask his parents for money. But no, he did not. Before I knew it, 3 years had passed. And like I said, he is such a big vagina. He always cries about everything. He was always in a bad mood. He was always getting sick. It got to the point where I couldn't even be around him because every time I was, all he would do was complain about what he was feeling that day. He always had a headache or his back hurt. And so he would ask me to do things for him. I was constantly having to give him massages, was always going to buy him medicine. This man would wake me up at 3 in the morning and go ask me to buy stuff. I was literally taking care of my child. Oh, and let's talk about our sex life. It was boring. He always did the exact same thing, never wanted to try anything new, and basically always complained about having to do things to me because it pained him. So I was completely unsatisfied, like all the time. I began hating him more and more every day. Even the sound of his voice triggers me. You might ask me, do I love him? I do. I care about him, but I'm not in love with him. Part 3 is up. Cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's not on Instagram. After realizing that I was living with the man-child who made me do everything for him, who cried all the time, who was always so sensitive and always needed something, and complained 24/7, I decided to start cheating. A few years ago, I had met a guy through a coworker. We always followed each other on Instagram and I knew that he was attracted to me. And he's pretty hot. And rich and good looking. So I decided to reach out on Instagram and asked him if he wanted to go out. Not only did he say yes, he planned a whole outing. We went hiking and we went to get massages. Then he took me out to dinner. And then we went to his place and had amazing sex. I would see this guy about 3 times a week. And I started hooking up with another guy that I met at the gym. This guy was really hot, but he didn't have a lot of money, so we never really went out. It was just plain sex, but it was good. About 6 months later, I met another guy. Again, amazing sex. Do you think my husband noticed anything? No. I would talk to these guys on the phone while my husband was in the same room. I would be setting up dates with these guys in the same room as my husband. Do you think he cared? No. I would even wear sexy outfits to go out with them and he never asked anything. He would just say, have fun, and then he would call me to complain about what he was feeling and what he wanted me to buy. Am I terrible for doing this?
Am I the asshole for telling my neighbor to F off after she demanded I clean her house? I'm a Latina woman married to an American man, and we live in a small community in Florida where most people are nice to me. I love cleaning, trying new products for fun, and a couple of times I've offered to clean other people's houses free of charge. One is a widower, one just had a baby, and another one just got into a car accident. A few days ago, I was sitting on my couch and I heard someone knocking on my door. A lady around 40 who I've never seen said it took you a while to open the door. I mumbled, huh? And she asked me in the most entitled tone, I want to know when you're going to clean my house for free. Am I the asshole for telling my neighbor to F off after she demanded I clean her house? She asked me in the most entitled tone when I was going to clean her house for free. I was trying not to laugh and asked why would I do that, and she proceeded to mention all the houses I've cleaned. And she wanted to know why I didn't make it to her house yet. She then yelled at me loud enough to make my next door neighbor come outside and see what was going on, simply because I wasn't replying to her. I was still trying to process her audacity to come to my house and demand I clean. I said I'm never gonna clean your house and I've only helped a few people. She then demanded and I told her to F off. Am I the asshole for missing an actual emergency because I turned my phone off to avoid my wife? My best friend 31 male and I 27 male have a tradition of taking a yearly weekend trip together that's phone free. We explore the city and stay in a suite so we're not completely disconnected. This was the first trip since my wife and I moved in together, got engaged, or got married. But we were dating for the last 2 years worth of trips and she seemed fine with it. I know it's different when you're married, but I just didn't expect the 180 in behavior. My wife demanded I take my phone in case she needed to get a hold of me, even though my friend was gonna have his phone and she had his number. Am I the asshole for missing an actual emergency because I turned off my phone to avoid my wife? I let her know when I arrived, and immediately after that, she was texting me and asking how things were. Then again, asking me another question when I didn't respond to the first one. I eventually muted the conversation, and she called me a few hours later asking why I didn't respond. I reiterated that this is a no-phone weekend and kept the call short. She kept calling me and my friends, so we shut our phones off for the rest of the weekend. When I got back, my wife was furious because her sister ended up getting in a car accident, and she said I wasn't there for her.
My husband didn't defend me, and it's making me want to leave him. A few weeks ago, we were in a road rage incident where we cut someone off in traffic, and it pissed the other driver off. The left lane was merging into us, and the car that was meant to give way to us wasn't slowing down, so we had no choice but to cut off the person to our right, or we would have collided with the person merging to our left. That car followed us and tailgated us, beeping its horn, and my husband kept trying to give the car room to go around us, but the car would slow down with us and speed up with us, and it followed us almost close to our house. I'm 7 months pregnant, and with this car following us, I didn't want a mysterious driver knowing where we live, so we pulled into the gas station instead. I got out, and the man got out of the car that was following us, and my husband stayed in the car. I told the man what happened and why we needed to cut him off, but he wouldn't calm down and instead was shouting and swearing, telling me I should learn to drive. When I told him it wasn't me driving but my husband, he called my husband a coward and a bitch. So I said it really was all we could do and apologized, but he slapped me and started to yell louder. A man had pulled up to a pump during all this and came over to help me and told the guy to piss off or we would call the police. I was stunned because I'd just been slapped by a stranger and I was in hysterics. My husband just sat in the car during this whole ordeal. He didn't get out even when the man had gone. I got back in the car and went home and I didn't say a word. My husband just looked guilty, but he didn't say anything. Now I don't even want to look at him. He can't even back me up in an argument. I'm pregnant with his child and he can't help me? What a prick. I, 42 male, have a 19-year-old daughter with epilepsy. It was a pretty recent development when we just now managed to get used to it and have it managed. I was downstairs one evening searching for my reading glasses when I heard her say that she was going to go take a bath. After a few minutes of fruitless searching, I went upstairs to see if I left them up there. That's when I heard a loud noise from the bathroom, like something fell. I knocked a few times and asked if she was okay, but I didn't get a response. I waited another minute before opening the door and finding her seizing and slipping under the water. What I heard was her knocking over some of the shampoo bottles when she began to shake. Her mouth went under and I freaked out. I held her up until she stopped seizing and then pulled her out of the water entirely. The bathroom isn't very big, so I carried her to a room right next door and then laid her down on the floor with a pillow. I started shouting for my wife for her meds and to bring a phone in case we needed to call EMS. She was naked, so I found a robe on the floor and threw it on her. She woke up after a few minutes, confused, and we gave her the medicine. My wife and I sat with her for probably an hour while she came back to her senses. I wanted to go to the ER, but my kid is stubborn as heck and wouldn't go. After a while, we all calmed down and left her alone to get dressed and relax. It was after that, when we were going to bed, that my wife had an attitude. I asked her what was wrong and she snapped. I was told that I should have shouted for her immediately when I realized what was happening. It was okay for me to have held her up in the bath, but it was inappropriate and disgusting that I carried our naked daughter to her bedroom and that I put a robe on her without my wife being there. She said she would have handled the situation since our daughter was nude. Obviously, I panicked and I didn't think anything of it. I told her that it was my daughter in an emergency situation and that it didn't matter. It wasn't ideal for me either, but it was just my kid. She told her parents and mine over the next few days and the results haven't been pretty. My wife's parents are furious and my father-in-law called me every name under the sun for looking at his granddaughter. My mother-in-law and my parents were more understanding, but did say that next time I should get my wife because it would be more appropriate since our daughter was naked and that seemed perverted. My daughter said that she didn't mind that I helped her instead of her mom and didn't feel weird about it, but our families have not let up. So am I in the wrong for pulling my daughter out of the bathtub without getting my wife? I'm 23 and my ex 24 tried to unalive himself because I don't want to get back together with him after he cheated on me. Me and my ex were almost together for 2 years until I found out that he cheated on me. Ironically, he cheated on me using Reddit. And to be honest, at first I didn't believe it, but then I got hit with the undeniable proof and so I hardened my heart and broke up with him. It was a really messy breakup with him crying, kneeling, begging, saying he only did it because he was frustrated and that he truly loved me. Other times, he blamed me for him cheating because I didn't give him enough attention. I ignored all of this and blocked his number and all his social medias. He tried using his family's phone to reach me, so I blocked them too, although I am civil with them despite all of this. Because he couldn't reach me through cyberspace, he eventually went to my house. Thankfully, we have a locked gate and my dogs were also very alert to intruders. He couldn't get in and so he slumped in the front of our street and cried while demanding to see me. I already told my parents beforehand that I broke up with him, so my mom frantically called me saying that my ex was here crying. I immediately went back home and confronted him. He said a lot, saying how he couldn't live without me and that he'd kill himself if I wouldn't get back together with him. Now this is where I agree I did wrong. I laughed at him and said he could try. Then despite his pleas, I went inside my house leaving him outside. After that, it became quiet for 2 to 3 weeks, so I thought that he finally left me alone. Then one day I got a call from an unknown number and when I answered it, it was his mom crying and telling me that whatever my ex did, I should forgive him because her son is in the hospital right now after trying to unalive himself because I don't want him back anymore. I was really surprised but also worried, so I told the mom that I'll talk to my parents about this first. My dad said that he was pitiful and although the end decision would still be mine, he hopes that I can support him for a while even if it means lying to him. My mom, on the other hand, said he's crazy and to never see him again. My sister is impartial with all of this. I also asked my friends and they basically said don't ever meet with him because he's a manipulative ass. My relatives eventually knew this because the gossip mill around here runs fast and said I should forgive him and to let bygones be bygones because God God wouldn't forgive me if I don't forgive. I live in a misogynistic and religious country, so the behavior explains it. I do care about him and I don't want him to pass, but I also don't want to get back together with him because I know my worth. What's the best way to do things? Part 2. My ex tried to unalive himself because I don't want to get back together with him after he cheated on me. So I went no contact. I sent a text to his mom saying how I'll go no contact, but I wish for his fast recovery. Basically, it didn't go well, and it definitely got a lot worse before it got better. His mom sent me a lot of messages, and most were curses. It included a lot of derogatory words. I knew that she was mentally troubled because of what happened to her son, so I ignored it and blocked her. When I woke up, I got lots of messages and message requests, and it was because she posted what was supposed to be a private manner in social media for the whole world to see. She even posted pictures of him in the hospital and she tagged me. It was overall a very hateful post. She screenshotted my text message to her about going no contact. I was turned into a villain overnight. Most of my message requests were my ex's relatives cursing me, and some of them were random strangers who also rebuked me. Even worse, some of my own relatives berated me and said that I should have taken their advice and gone back together with him. My mom told me to go on a social media detox or just go on sites where I'd enjoy and she'd handle it. Well, she posted a response to my ex's mom's post, and it was about how she conveniently left out the part where her son cheated on me just to gain interest and sympathy. My friends also backed it up and sent receipts and screenshots. The hate died down a bit, and I also received some support, but the damage had been done. My ex's company saw the post, my mom's and ex's moms, and they want to let him go because the whole issue is not good for their image since it reached a lot of people. I knew because my ex's mom privately messaged my mom to delete her post because of it. She also said that she'll delete her own post too. My mom got mad saying she'll refuse to delete it because now they want to be civil, but I told her just to delete it so that the whole thing can be forgotten. So far, the posts are still up. For context, I live in an Asian, misogynistic, religious country, so yes, I'm still getting some hate messages, but personally, I believe I can handle it. As for my dad, him and my mom are not speaking terms because my mom says that he's not taking it seriously, and my dad says that this isn't much of a big issue. To be honest, the most absurd thing about all this is how my ex is still asking for me. I got a much unneeded update from one of his circle friends, who by the way, knew of the cheating. All of his friends knew of the cheating and didn't think to tell me. In the end, I will definitely not get into contact with any of them in the present or future.
This is why you should never go to a sleepover. In 2013, a kid named Olivia was sleeping over at a friend's house. Olivia and her friend Emma were having a good time, staying up late and watching movies. After a while, they decided it was time to go to sleep, so they called it a night. Emma fell asleep in her bed. Olivia tried to go to sleep in her sleeping bag on the floor, but she couldn't fall asleep because she kept hearing these strange breathing noises. She thought it was just Emma snoring, so Olivia threw a pillow to try and wake Emma up. Emma woke up confused, and she said, "What's wrong?" And Olivia said, "I can't go to sleep." And as soon as she said that, Olivia looked underneath Emma's bed and saw something terrifying. There was a man under Emma's bed grinning at Olivia. He put his finger over his lips and tried to shush Olivia. Olivia started screaming in terror.
This is why you should never go to sleep early. Once there was a girl named Rebecca who shared a bedroom with her sister. But one night something terrifying happened. Something no one can explain. Her sister would always go to sleep early because of work, but one night Rebecca felt exhausted from school, so she decided to sleep early too. She could have never expected the horrifying things this would lead to. When she opened her bedroom door, the lights were already off and her sister was in bed. She asked, "Are you asleep already? I still have to shower." Her sister replied, "Lie down. It's too late, shower in the morning." Rebecca said, but her sister interrupted her. "I said, lie down." This time her voice was much angrier. Annoyed, Rebecca went into the bathroom anyways, but found someone was already in there. Then her mom came out of the living room. "Dad's taking a long time in there, huh?" Rebecca said, pointing to the bathroom door. But her mom looked confused. "No, he's in the living room with me watching TV." Rebecca stopped. That's when the bathroom door opened and her sister stepped out. To this day, Rebecca still wonders who was in her bedroom and what would have happened if she had lied down like it told her to.